is not that popular in there. And I remember just before leaving to Canada, telling my aunt, I'm leaving, and she would be saying, she told me, it's kind of like you just getting up and trying to be making it to Hollywood. And I remember just before Raw, sitting there and just having that same conversation with her in my mind, and just saying, I guess I made it to Hollywood in a way, because it's something that you could have always dreamed, at least from a small country. What are the chances you're going to go and find a school in Canada? There was no internet. There was internet when I left, but there was still, it wasn't the same. Like now you can just find a wrestling school, whatever. And then, as you can hear from my accent, I didn't even have English at the time, so it was kind of like a very risky thing. So I remember just sitting there and soaking it in, when they had the Dead Now and Forever, when I was watching the prompter before. It was
Right.
crazy emotional. But yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. 18,000 people, and they were actually chanting my name. And
Yeah.
it started with Tomer, and people that didn't know Tomer, it turned into Jobber. But it was still cool. It was still a cool experience. you know
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, who actually trained you?
So when I moved to Canada, I was looking at all these schools and options. Eventually, I told you the internet wasn't that popular at the time. So unfortunately for me, every school that I went to was, I guess, closed like almost close to a decade. From Ron Hutchinson, that trained Edge and Christian, that was
Mhm.
like gone, years gone before I even started planning on wrestling. Or Sweet Daddy Siki, that actually trained Ron Hutchinson, right? I found a school that was called Squared Circle Wrestling, with Rob Fuego. Fuego was actually training with Ron Hutchinson, so I guess it kind of went down. He was also in the same classes with Edge and Christian. They were riding all the time. Fuego started my beginning training. You know what? I'll give him a lot of credit. One of the best trainers that I've seen, and I trained with multiple people with my years. True, Rob Fuego. After that, I did. I just, because I came here and I didn't really have nothing. I just had school of wrestling, right? And I just said I'm gonna pack a suitcase and go to Mexico. And over there, I got really lucky landing in Mexico. And I don't know if you know John Strongman, Big John Strongman. He used to wrestle there at Mexico at the time. He was in my hotel, and lucky that I saw him in the elevator, and I was like, "Hey, I just brought a suitcase here and trying to trying to figure out things out." And the next thing I know, he hooked me up with Chalker, and I was training with Chalker and Diego Casa in Mexico in CMLL. That again, mind blowing. Just, what they always say: if you don't try stuff, it could have gone the opposite way. I could have went there and nothing could have happened, but I guess luck was on my side. So then I trained with them, and I finished training. It wasn't finished because I always trained. So it's not like, it was just picking up from more people. And then Santino Morella, Anthony Corelli, he
Mhm.
trained me also with Yoki Ishikawa. He is the founder of Battle Arts in Japan. So I got my Japanese style from Yoki. I got my WWE style from Santino. I got see my Mexican style from, Shocker, and Fuego. He gave me that strong foundation of everything. So I
Mhm.
got, again, pretty lucky. And you know what? You'll see a lot of people that will be, oh, I don't do seminars anymore. If there's somebody that I know that I can pick up something from, I'm throwing my ego to the garbage, and I'm going to be the first one there. Even if I'm main eventing that show, I'm still there in the seminar trying to pick up like things. Like I remember a cool one was with Fit Finley when he got
Mhm.
released, a while ago, with a couple of years ago, when he got, I think even more. Um, he was doing a round of seminars, and I was driving him to town for like 3 days and just picking up all this knowledge from Fit Finley. That's like, something that you can't pay, but it's not the same. Like 3 days with him,
Exactly.
it's like a master's class.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, um, Interestingly enough, I had an earlier session tonight. I was talking to a guy named Sean Legacy, who he's actually out of Augusta, Georgia. I'm in the Atlanta area, and he
I
is
saw
also
him. The one before me, I just got into your thing. A pretty jacked
yeah
guy. Look, good look
yeah
to him. Yeah.
yeah. I was talking to him, and he has actually wrestled quite a bit overseas and in Japan and other
Really.
places, and having the opportunity to wrestle in other cultures and pick up on the nuances and the differences just makes you a better in-ring performer. So I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
phenomenal.
There's a cool good worker here that just came here from Mexico. Guerrero Sia, his name is, and I just had with him a phenomenal match with him barely knowing him. And they became a crew like three, and I got lucky that they put me on with them for a while because I guess they know I kind of know the style, and their English is very limited, and it's so cool to be in the ring and knowing you're doing something without even saying a word and just feeling it and it's a whole different level. It's a whole different level. You know, I got a couple friends that they always tell me like what's exciting for me now in wrestling. After doing it for a long time, I feel like I kind of lose excitement unless it's like a very big match. I like those weird matches when it's hard to communicate or with somebody so new that like I need that something in a match to be like out to make me start thinking and rolling my spinning my wheels. That's the biggest excitement I get now in wrestling. It's
Right,
it's a fun thing for me.
right, right. Well, something we're going to do throughout the course of this is play something called the speed round game, where
Great.
basically I'm going to name a name and you just tell me the first thing that pops into your head.
Okay.
Paul Heyman.
Ooh, smart Jewish guy, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know
Yeah.
what? I don't know if I can even pull behind the curtain, but when I was at SummerSlam, I think it was SummerSlam or Survivor Series, I was sitting very close to him, and I heard a conversation with Bill Goldberg and him. And as an Israeli Jewish guy, I was just listening to that. I it was something I was sitting like 2 meters away, and the stuff that he was writing and saying, mind blowing. So if not even that, maybe a genius, because that turned on the crazy switch for me that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the guy is brilliant and just on the basis of being the founder of ECW, he's a Hall of
Absolutely,
Famer. But I mean,
absolutely,
beyond ECW, the guy has contributed so much to the industry. It's just
absolutely,
amazing.
absolutely. Again, I got lucky to work with the Fed a lot of times. I'm backstage when they come, and he's somebody that I always kind of like when he's there. I kind of not sneak on him, but I try to pick his brain from far away, and he's on all over and so much stuff. And again, the knowledge, the stuff that he says is just like you, I'm sitting there thinking I'm a vet for 15 years, and then I'm just sitting under that learning tree without even like them even knowing that I'm there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, at what point in your life did you know that you wanted to try to make a go of professional wrestling? Has it been something that you've always had a passion for, or was there a point where you knew that was what you wanted to do?
So I would say I always wanted to do it, but again, growing up in Israel, it's kind of too much wars and all that things. The last thing you really think about is pro wrestling.
Right.
But one day I got lucky. I was flipping around and then I watched something called NWA TNA that was on the time. From
Mm-hmm.
Star World. It was a channel Star World Asia that it's from like Asia, and then scrolling and getting like Mexican wrestling from Lebanon because we didn't even have it on our channels until I actually left and started training wrestling and all that. That's when it came in. But I think the thing that really gave me the itch of that's it, I'm going for it was WrestleMania 20. I remember I had a friend that would download these things for me because there was no way to watch it there, and it would take him like 3 days in a row, I think, to just download this thing and he got it at like 7 in the morning, and I was supposed to go to school, and I went to his house and I got that CD, and I was watching the whole WrestleMania, just mind blowing. And that was the day that I said, that's it. I'm gonna try it one day, and I kind of switched everything in my mind to how am I gonna get there and do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
Hobbies more than that. Honestly, I'm a workaholic. I love working. I'm all the time work. I have a son that is gonna be next month 2 years old. That is my new hobby. I just all the time with him and the dog. Nothing really sports, other sports, because again, growing up, there wasn't really sports. It was more just all the friends. You know, it was a poor country, and at the time, now it's more a little bit more, but it was that my neighborhood was just a poor neighborhood. So I would just be sitting and causing trouble, I would say, with the people that all my friends. So I never really had that other hobbies of like in other sports or movies. Nothing really interested me, and I didn't know English at the time, so I couldn't watch like too much television from the world. Yeah, that's my new hobby. Just spending time with the kid. That is the favorite thing of mine right now.
Gotcha. Well, speaking from experience, there is nothing like being a dad. And
Absolutely.
uh, you know, my son actually tomorrow is his 15th birthday, and
Good boy.
Monday he'll be starting his second year of high school. And let me tell you, you said your son is about to be 2.
About to be two. Yes.
Don't blink, because the time is going to fly. I
That's what
mean,
everybody says. And you know what? I was just walking with my wife, and he started running, and he learned how to open a zipper now. And I'm like, just yesterday I was holding him in his hand. He was crying all the time, not even doing nothing. And now he's like just causing trouble and fighting with the dog all day. It's like if 2 years went this fast, I'm assuming, like you said, like and without like that, it's gonna be 20, 25.
yeah, yeah. But being a dad is just there is just nothing like it, dude. I
You,
mean,
you, you know what? Everybody always used to tell me in the beginning, and I was like, they're just saying whatever. It taught me unconditional love that I never thought that I can even have. You know, it's something very weird that like at work I'll be waiting to just all day go home or just call him all the time. It's weird. It is a weird thing, but not weird, but you know what I mean. It's like something that I didn't know that it's gonna be like that. But it is the coolest job and coolest feeling as being a
ab-
dad.
absolutely. So Tomer, is wrestling a full-time thing for you, or do you have a day job?
So when I came to Canada, wrestling was my full-time job, but wrestling is doesn't pay the bills, especially at the beginning. No, I actually have a cash and carry over here for cleaning and restaurant supplies.
Oh,
So
cool.
what's good about it is since I'm my own boss, I can always pick up and go. And I was just in Miami doing something right now before. So it lets me the freedom of do whatever really I want to do all the time, right? Like thank God, if I have a gig, I can just put an employee and go to my gig.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's great. So speed round,
Okay.
Kenny Omega.
Amazing talent. Canadian too.
Yep,
Also,
yep.
I finally became Canadian, so I'm one of them. Took me
Awesome.
15 years, but yeah.
Yeah, for coming to Canada, you said with no English, your
No
English
English.
your English is phenomenal, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
I
It was
mean,
all. We should thank Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler because they're the only show that I watched with English. And actually, I had to fix myself a lot because I would say words that puppies and slobberknocker that people would be like, "What are you saying?" I was surrounded by a good crew of other wrestler workers that kind of helped me out, and I was trying. I still have the accent, but when I go for promos, it kind of disappears. That's one of my coolest things that I'm the most proud of because I can get it on and off kind of thing. Like this is natural, but if I really want to take it out, it can go away.
awesome. So, where in Israel are you from?
So I'm in from Hulon. Hulon is a 5 minute drive from Tel Aviv.
Okay.
Luckily, it's a safer um, kind of zone, less bombing all the time. Yeah, I grew up in Hulon. Coolest, I would say coolest area to grow up because I never needed a PlayStation. I never needed a TV in my room. I was just talking to my wife. She was saying it's so hot. Let's turn the. I went to my in Miami. Went to this place, the hotel. And the hotel, the AC didn't work. And she goes, started complaining. And I was like, it's like the desert back home, and I didn't even have an AC or a fan. Like this is nothing for me, you know. Very much grew up on not too much, but wrestling is what always drove me and kept me on the right track. That I'm really thankful for that because I've seen a lot of friends of mine that went to from jail to drugs to all this, and for me it was that's what I want to do, and I know this is not going to get me there. This is not going to get me there, so I got to go this way. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but I was all day on the
Absolutely.
beach, so that's also good.
Yep. So, they say that the best wrestling persona is yourself turned up to 11.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me about Tomer Shalom and compare and contrast your in-ring persona with everyday Tomer Sidi.
So it's kind of funny because in the beginning I always used to hear that, and I would be trying to do it the opposite because when I came to Canada, I was kind of like, oh, this guy is Russian. He's gonna have the Russian villain gimmick. Oh, this guy is Jewish. He's gonna have the villain Jewish gimmick. This guy's Arabic. He's gonna, they kind of forced it on you. So as being most of the time, I'm most of the lovable guy there is backstage, and to turn it into a heel was I don't think it was a struggle for me. It wasn't a struggle, but it was kind of different for me. It took me a while until I know how to even be a heel and kind of mix me into it. In the beginning, it took me a while. I would say at least 2 years until I got comfortable in my skin to bring who I was. Because again, don't forget, I was supposed to be a villain that doesn't know even the language, and it was even hard for me to just let's say swear at fans. Not that I was swearing at them, but like insults or something like that.
Right.
But again, I'm very grateful for it because it led me that 2 years. I picked up how to get heat, let's say, with just motions and not without even using the cheap heat, using like vocals. That yeah, that's why it took me a while for sure. But if you're looking for something that now, I would say it's mostly the charisma that I can bring in from both of them. Because
Hmm.
Tomer is real. Tomer is super charismatic and can win people with a conversation. And Tomer Shalom is was different until I brought him into each other. Nowadays, I don't think there even is a difference. Same thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, as far as in ring goes, do you have a preference yourself between working as a heel or working as a babyface?
Um, you know what? I was really, really lucky to be training with a lot of people that they were always saying you don't know what you're gonna be, so you gotta work on back and forth in both of them. That I have no issues with them. I can be a heel I, I can be a heel on a weekend on the Saturday morning show, and I can be a baby face of the heel in the morning, like the night show. Like no difference to me. If there's preference, I would always say it's more fun to be a heel. But
Hmm.
because I was a heel for the first, I would say majority of like the first 7 years of my career, until we kind of got normalized to every culture can be a baby face, and then that's when I started getting into the baby face reps. And again, I enjoy them both though. I really enjoy them both.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. As a fan, I have always found myself actually gravitating toward the heels.
Same thing with
I
me.
I find that the heels are usually more compelling characters because, you know, typically there is a reason why they are a heel.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, most good heels are not, they're not being, for lack of a better word, an asshole for the sake of being an asshole. There's a reason why they're,
absolutely.
and I just find the psychology of all that to just be really interesting. And you don't necessarily get as much of that with the baby faces. So I've just
Yeah.
always kind of gravitated toward the heels because of that.
Well,
But
I also get a you probably know, but heels have a lot more freedom, and that's
mhm,
where when a good heel is comfortable with whatever he wants to do and comfortable with his heat and everything, That's why it's more, and most times the heel will direct the match. So, you know, as much as they'll help the babyface get over, they still got that a couple of seconds to get themselves over as a heel in it.
Right, right, right. Yeah, what I always really enjoy are the people that can transition from heel to babyface and back, and nothing about their character changes,
Yeah,
or if it does, it's just very subtle. But
absolutely.
the it's really all dependent upon how the crowd perceives them. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like watching, for instance, MJF recently make his transition from heel to babyface and now back to heel.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
not much about his character has changed. It's
No,
just
no.
very subtle stuff.
Yep,
But
yep.
yeah, but
I feel
people,
like what you're saying is true. It's true. It is, but it's a lot easier for that transition of not changing too much when you're over before it even happens.
oh,
You know
absolutely,
what I
yeah,
mean? If you take a Randy Orton, babyface heel, same thing. Like
yeah,
maybe little tweaks, but same thing. MJF, like you said, a lot of people like that. Like Edge, I would say at his
hmm,
time, not now. I think now it's gonna be harder to transition to a heel as now that he's a kind of super over babyface for so many years. But yeah,
right,
yeah, I understand what you mean. I was the same thing. Those are the people that really caught my eyes the most, and people that I would study a lot.
yep,
Eddie Guerrero when he turned heel, um, he. It's funny how they say not change too much, but just from coming out with a smile to no smile, the thing that it's so simple, and but he really felt it when he didn't smile.
yeah.
You know,
And little subtle nuances like that are where the magic is. I
absolutely,
mean, yep,
absolutely.
yep,
I'm a big fan of the Shakespeare part of wrestling.
hmm,
Like the small swings between moves. Like I'm not even. People will see a move and flip over and go crazy. For me, it's not about the move, and even when before we go out to the match, like for me, the things that I focus the most is those small things in betweens. Because everybody can do a kick, everybody can do a punch, and everybody can do a body slam. You know?
yeah, yep. So speed round,
Yes.
Bray Wyatt,
Okay. What am I thinking of Bay uh, I said already genius for him, for Heyman. I would say crazy creative in a good way. Because
yeah,
again, I got lucky to one time walk behind and see him thinking before a promo. And I would see a lot of people get into the zone, but that was a different, crazy different zone of promo. And how he would, again, I saw it one time, but it was kind of like, if I'm thinking of a promo of what to say, I'm just walking and thinking of what to say. And him, it was like saying and doing movements in a way of opening the hands. So that, again, it's something that watching it up, light bulb, oh, something different, something cool,
yep,
right? But very
yeah,
creative. I watched his he had a documentary, I think it was a while ago or something like that. I watched it and seeing the transition of how, let's be real, from I'm overweight. I'm an overweight guy. I'm not a super body guy. Now I've been working super hard in the gym right now. For the last 6 months, I've lost 50 pounds to get in, and I want to get in crazy shape, but I'm still not there. From him to being a fat, chubby guy, when they gave him the Husky Harris gimmick without doing, and being
right,
able to change it into his, that is I said genius, but creative, crazy creative in a good way. Like
yeah,
not too many people get the chance to really go for it. Because if let's be real, if I was sitting in a car with him, let's say, and we were just friends driving up, and he would be saying, "Hey, I want to do this thing when I'm rocking on a chair and have the light thingy and be kind of like a superpower," I would have said that sounds kind of nuts, right? Like not like what are the chances that that's going to work? And actually, that worked like magic. So
Yeah,
that is such a crazy,
absolutely.
such a crazy thing how he took that creative and made it into something so special.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm loving what they're doing right now with the Wyatt Six, and the fact that
Yeah,
his brother is getting to do this and pay tribute, is just
absolutely.
and they couldn't have really selected a better bunch of people to be a
Yeah.
part of that faction. I mean, I'm excited to see where it's going.
They all had their creative ways of trying to do something similar, and now you get to see it all connect into one. That is a pretty cool thing. I just hope they're gonna run with it and shoot them to the stars, right, to the sky.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't get to see too much of it, only on YouTube, just some parts. But the parts that I'm seeing is very cool. The question is, when the lights turn on and it becomes a match, how is that going to play off? And I hope for them that it's
exactly.
going to play super cool, and I hope they're going to make it darker lights like they gave Barry Wyatt, and you know, hoping
Yeah,
for the best for them.
absolutely. So tell me, if you can remember back this far, tell me about your very first match. What was it like? How did it
Ooh.
go? How did it feel?
So my first shoot match was a battle royal actually, and it was for Tiger Ali Singh. He was doing a show, him and Tiger Jitsing. They have this thing that it's called Tiger Fest. It's in Brampton. It's to an Indian community. And it was crazy for having it my first match because they were putting so much money into that show and having stars like Tiger Ali Singh and Tiger Jitsin there that it's already crazy to be on a card like that. But they also brought other names in, and I want to say there was close to maybe 5,000 people on my first time outside, you
Wow.
know, in a battle royal. And the funniest thing is the next night I had a different show that had 6 people. So it was kind of like a weird a Saturday I'm working with in a battle royal with Bushwhacker Luke, and then the next day I see Bushwhacker Luke in the main event in front of 6 people, and it was like, yikes, this is a weird very weird business. It was a
from
it was
from
a
one
cool.
extreme to the other.
Absolutely. It was like a cool, in the beginning, I was like, oh, I made it. 5,000 people on an indie show. This is amazing. And then the next day, I got the slap of reality of, yeah, 5 people, go, go kill yourself for that handshake.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, having heard about your first match, tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Wow. Favorite matches. There's, I have to say the total favorite match will be Raw because that was 18,000 people, to millions around the world, and I getting to, represent. I have a Star of David on me all the time when I wrestle, and having that cool moment of actually, you know, from there sitting all the way to, like from a kid dreaming about it to actually going out there. Kind of that was the coolest thing. But there's other emotional matches that I had a very close friend of mine, Rob Rage, who was a wrestler, and he passed away of a heart attack less than a year ago, and he just, I want to say, his third last match. When he started, we were writing everywhere, and we had all these matches together. But then we kind of like we didn't fall off. We were still friends, but we just didn't get to work with each other. We went different ways doing shows, and finally getting a match with him again. Just, I want to say 2 months before he passed, was he was a very close friend of mine. It was kind of like a weird moment. Even us sitting in the locker room and talking seconds because it happened at the show itself, right? After his match, he was a match before me, and he came back. We hugged, we talked, and when I went to the match and I came back, he had a heart attack. That's
Hmm.
you know that's a very emotional match. One of them. Also, my first cage match was a cool thing. It was for a small local TV, Rogers here in Canada. But when you say magic and everything is how, for me, I got a vision a match before and vision it in my head kind of thing.
Hmm.
And for the first time that I was like spot on, like everything that was supposed to go wrong, and so many things went wrong in the match. But with the cage not working, but we got it to the same vision that I had. That was also one of my favorite matches. I would say those three for sure.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, what have if you can narrow it down to one or two little anecdotes, what have been some of the most interesting or unusual experiences that you've had in wrestling?
Interesting and unusual. I did one time a show up in it's called Manitoud Island. It's Indian Reserve. Um, and the promoter decided to bring some random people into the match for Battle Royal because they were paying him money. And that was a very interesting match because we had um, three jacked people there that have no idea of wrestling and just trying to tear our hands off. And me from having army experience and a lot of MMA experience, young because judo and stuff. Because again, there was no pro wrestling back home, so I had to do all the hard stuff to kind of know how to bump slowly. Just tearing these people out, throwing them out of a border royal for shoot was one of the most bizarre, I would say, bizarre experiences.
I'm
Absolutely,
sure.
one of them. Now that was a weird. Other, do I have any other? For sure, there's a lot. There's a lot of. You know what? I would say almost every show you will have something bizarre going on that you would that until today, 15 years later, I'll still stand and like, what am I doing with my life? You know, there's
No
always
doubt.
yeah. Every show it happens to me. There's got to be one thing that triggers me. And it's like, what's going on here? What's going on here?
Absolutely. So, what has been your strangest encounter with a fan?
Strangers encounter with a fan. Ooh, what did I have? I had in Montreal, I would say 7 years ago. This is before even the war that started right now, that it's going crazy. But I was going out and I had people chant something, and I thought they're chanting in French. And I'm asking the ref, what are they chanting? And the ref goes to me, oh, free Palestine. And I'm like, what does this have to do now with wrestling, right? And I
Mm.
actually had six people because I'm heel, and I'm like, come in. And I was with that guy that I just mentioned, Rob Rage, that he's a huge of a man, like massive bodybuilder, and they came in and he just stepped in front of them and they all went down. That was one of the craziest encounters that I had. I had a lot of fans that wanted to fight me from some reason. Part of being a heel, that is part of
Right.
the. And I feel like lately, since there's social media out there, fans know that we're not really gonna do nothing to them, so
Right.
they're taking more. You know, they're taking more, trying to take more liberties.
Yeah.
I never hit at a fan. I'm not saying I'm those type of hit fans, but yeah, there is a point of being crossed. Like I had a lot of fans that will just voicemail me, angry voicemails, and just swearing at everything in the world at me for just winning a match and being a heel. So you take. I take it as pride, though. I take it as good. I'm happy when it comes. I did my
Oh, yeah.
job. You know,
Exactly.
some people get offended. I don't get offended. I get happy.
Yeah, because ultimately, love you or hate you, they won't forget you.
Absolutely. That is the most
Uh,
important thing.
so, speed round.
Yes.
Jim Jim Ross.
Okay. Jim Ross. Ooh. Um, Teacher. He's the one who teach me English. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Amazing and amazing commentator. I still in my head when I turn on Raw, I'll hear the new people, but Corey Graves doing a good job too. But you know what I mean? Like for me, Raw is Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. That is
Yeah.
that is nothing for me. That is how I remember it. I'll
Yeah.
open it up, I'll hear the new thing. But yeah, it's cool hearing him. And I don't know if he's still in AEW, but a long time he was in AEW, and it was cool still having that cool, listening to Jim Ross there.
Yeah, I think Jim is doing occasional pay-per-view matches. He's not really in the regular commentating
He has some
rotation anymore.
health issues, right? So maybe because
Yeah.
of that, he's going into that. But you know what? It's still cool to have him on a
Oh,
pay-per-view.
absolutely. Oh,
You know,
no
I
doubt,
wish
no
he
doubt.
was the commentator for my match there. I would have been even more happy
Yep.
with that.
So, as far as your in-ring work and your promos go, who would you say are some of your influences?
Some of my growing up as a kid, I was a big fan of Rick Martel for some reason that I have no idea why. He was such a good heel and such a hateable arrogance, like you would say.
Mhm. The
Um,
model, the
the
model.
model, yeah, the model, and it started with Rick Martel and Razor as a young. They were my favorites. Then it went to Edge. I feel like I take from everybody's stuff, but lately I try to take more from my style. So it took me a while to understand that hey, this is my style. Watching Mr. Perfect, everybody thinks he's the best. It's amazing, but I don't do that headbutt flip around. That's not something that I do. My biggest influence, I think, is JBL. It's not too many say it. A lot won't say it, but a Fit Finley and JBL.
Mhm.
That it's a whole different style of what's going on right now. And again, I can do the lucha with people. I can do some Japanese, but that's the style that's really missing on an indie show these days. You don't see it too much. You'll see match, 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 very similar, but you don't
Yeah.
really get to see a Fit Finley, William Regal, JBO style.
Yeah, the kind of old school smash mouth wrestling. Yeah.
Don't see it too much anymore. Yeah, absolutely. That's my favorite. That's the thing that I love. I love that. That's the favorite style. Yeah. Did you
So,
expect JBL? You didn't expect that one though.
I did not
I don't think
expect JBL.
we
No,
never got one of those, eh? Every
no,
time
that
we'll sit in the car ride and somebody's like, "Hey, who are you watching right now?" Because I want to, like try stealing from stuff. And when I see JBL, they're like, "JBL, huh?" You know, something to think about. Like nobody
yeah,
even thinks about it.
absolutely. That's actually really great. I mean, honestly, I hadn't thought about JBL in a while, so
Trust me.
you've
If
reignited
you
something.
if you get a chance, put that time when he was champion, magic.
Mhm.
The heat, the matches were great, and it's very similar style of the coward baby face. It's
Mhm.
it's it's the greatest. I feel that it's the greatest wrestling. The coward baby face that in the end wins somehow very dirty and annoying. I'm like, bravo. That's my favorite style.
Absolutely. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match that you can watch and rewatch, and it doesn't get old, and you always glean something new from it, even after you've watched it a million times.
Um, you know what? I'm not that weird guy that watches so much the same matches.
Hmm.
But if there is a favorite match of mine, I would say I don't have a specific favorite match. For me, it's again, it's like I'm obsessed with Mania matches. Mania matches because they always put the most effort into it. That's when they put the most in betweens into it. If there is any match that you know what, I would say a lot of matches that made me, when you really get emotional in a match and you actually feel it. And
Hmm.
again, those are the matches of Eddie Guerrero winning the belt, even Cody with the story that they were saying. Finish
Yeah.
the story, finish the story. It's just because it told you a whole story, and it's more, I think, because I know how it means to them as a
Yeah.
worker, their journey, and to actually see them get that. Those are
Hmm.
those I would say my favorite matches. So I don't really have a match specific that I go and watch back and forth uh, for those, but the ones when there was a hard ride to get to that title,
Yeah.
those are the matches that if already I'll Google something in like YouTube, it'll probably pop one of those ones onto me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the ones I find myself going back to is from WrestleMania 20. Um,
That's the big
triple
one.
Triple H, Benoit, and Shawn Michaels.
Oh, Michaels.
I mean, that was
When
phenomenal storytelling.
when I named that is one of it, but I didn't want to put the name out there. But that
Yeah,
is an emotional match. Was at the time, you know.
yeah,
Again, as I was, we started the conversation with being a dad is the coolest thing. I
yeah.
don't watch him anymore. I don't get to watch him anymore. If he was talented, talent is talent. But you know, but you know what? Even a lot of Triple H matches. Undertaker,
Hmm.
Triple H. You know that wasn't for a title, but that was when they had that Mania cage match. Amazing storytelling, amazing. You know, it's like
Absolutely.
I'm sitting and watching a movie without even knowing that it's a match.
Yeah, yeah. And when you can when it becomes cinematic is just and
My
you lose track of the fact that you're watching a wrestling match. That's
absolutely,
just amazing.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's my biggest, I would say, goals to do right now. Because I told you I like in my matches, I really like now that extra layer that something if something gets fucked up to go oops, I don't know if I can swear. If
Oh,
something
that's
goes
fine.
wrong, if something goes wrong, how to switch it up to that and go back to the right track or by that storytelling. Because a lot of times they'll say, let's do this move, that move. And I'm like, leave the moves. We need that something in between to get emotions. And that's what I'm really looking for, the motions. Sometimes it works like magic, and sometimes it does not work, but I try reaching for it.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, and this can be present day or any time in the past. Who would be a dream opponent? Who would you love
Ooh.
to work?
Oh, a dream match, huh? Oof. I would say my guys, if it's or Razor, Martel, Edge. You know what? I would say Edge or Christian will be my favorite match to have. Favorite dream match to have. I was a big Edge fan growing up with the Rated R Superstar at the time.
Hmm.
That was crazy time wrestling for me in my
No
eyes.
doubt, no
Don't get
doubt.
me wrong. Bill Goldberg, 2000s WCW was also crazy good for me as a kid. But I'm just saying, you know, I kind of grew up with it. When it went rated R, my age kind of went rated R. So it was a cool thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I was actually in the Georgia Dome back in '96 when Goldberg went over Hogan. And let me
Really?
tell you, let me tell you, that place came unglued. I mean, it is one of the loudest sounds I have ever heard in my life.
Such a
Just
cool moment.
being there and feeling the just raw emotion of the crowd was just it was just out of this world.
I was at backstage at the monitors at the one that when he beat, I think he beat Goldberg, Lesnar in 8 seconds. Was that Lesnar? I don't remember who he
Oh
was,
yeah, I
but
think it was Lesnar.
it was Lesnar, and I think it was Summer Survivor Series, and I was an extra that day, and I sitting in Gorilla, not Gorilla, but like the monitor area, and the monitor was a sellout. Everybody was there, and when it ended in 8 seconds, everybody was like, "What?" Because nobody had no idea, and you should
Right.
have seen the faces of like the New Day, and Strowman was there, and Orton passed by like to grab a thing, and it's like just like that was a very cool experience too. So watching the cell from this area at that time was also crazy.
No doubt, no doubt. So, over the course of your career, have you had a chance to meet any of your heroes?
Did I have? I had a cool, very cool moment that I'm regretting not taking a picture because and for the longest time I was like, oh, you can't take a picture. It's a mark. And now I don't really do pictures anyways now. But if I really want one, I'll go and take it. Um, there was this. I don't remember what it was called, but it was something like a Comic Con or some con that they had a show there, and I
Hmm.
was sitting backstage because it was Rob's ring, my trainer, and we were sitting. He was sitting with Rhino, and then Edge came. That again, I was the biggest Edge mark at the time, and Rick Martel were both sitting beside me, one by one, and I'm just having a conversation with them. And in my mind, I'm like, is this really happening right now? As that was my idol growing up and my other idol growing up, and I'm in the middle talking and just trying to get some knowledge from them. That was a cool, very very cool moment. Very cool moment. So I did get to meet both of them, and they were both super awesome, super nice as guys.
That is awesome. So, you've been doing this, you said basically 16 years.
Something like that.
So you've got some wear and tear. So what hurts right now?
Um, what hurts? You know what? I have an ankle issue. Kind of hurts. Because when I started, I did a lot of lucha, and I kind of blew my ankle out, and I didn't have health care in Canada. So again, because I just came here, just flew, came here. So I was taping it, and I had to go and work the same day as a bartender and stand on it for a while. My ankle bothers me, but again, I'm very smart with my bumps.
Hmm.
When it's necessary, it's necessary. I'm not a believer in taking 2,000 bumps in a match for no reason. Um, Lucky for me, and especially now that I lost 50 pounds, I'm feeling great. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling better than almost when I started. So thank God I had a lot of injuries, but thank God I'm like nothing that really keeps me back. Before I would be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, maybe my ankle, maybe my knee, but now I'm back to 100%.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's really good news,
absolutely.
because
If you would talk to my uh, other workers that know me, they would they always call me the lazy guy because I don't want to take unnecessary bumps. But now after 15 years, they change it to this guy. I was actually working smart the whole time. Again, I'm not saying I don't take bumps, but if it's not necessary and we don't need it and it's very stupid, I'm not doing it because I have my own business that I got to go tomorrow and work there. You know what I mean? It happened to
yep,
me one time when I had to do it and work, and I was like, I'm never doing that thing again.
absolutely. So, Tomer, knowing everything that you know now, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Um, Knowing now, again, I just became Canadian now. So for Israelis, they need a special visa to cross the border to the States. I had a lot of opportunities to work in the States and do some cool stuff in the States, but I couldn't cross the border. If I could have gave myself at the time, I would have said, screw Canada and go to Japan, Mexico, stay more in Mexico. Um, that would have been for me. If I can give somebody else, I would say be smart with the bumps. Like I said, you don't need to do all these crazy things. Yes, you can get viral with it, but it's got to be something very mind blowing to do. Nowadays, when you have a social media that you can do promos and whatever on it, my thing would be if you live in the States, stay in the States. That's where you want to be. Get in amazing shape. Because again, it took me for a while. I was always saying, oh, I would get signed, then I get in shape. And then I was saying, oh, when I can cross the border. Well, now I can cross the border and I'm getting in shape, but it's taking me more than 6 months. It's going to take me another 6 months. So I just wasted a whole year when time goes away. So be in the best shape you can. Don't be a mark for yourself. A lot of people are very marks for themselves. You know, just know that you're a lot of times here's something a lot of times I would work with somebody and says I want to get my end, like something end. But when you're in a real fight, you don't go and say to the guy, hey, stop, I want to give you a run. You go with the flow.
Right.
Yes, you can get your stuff in eventually, but you gotta make it make sense. So if you started with somebody now, get in shape, go to the States as fast as you can and closest to Orlando to be under that spot that you want to make the most money, and don't be a mark for yourself. Make it make sense. Those are the three that I would say. And never stop learning. Because
Yeah.
if there's a seminar that you're gonna learn something and it's only $50, just give that $50 and go learn. It doesn't matter if you're main eventing that show.
Absolutely. The day you stop learning, you die.
Absolutely. 100% I'm with you with that. 100% I'm with that.
So, do you have a favorite move to do in the ring, something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side, is there a move that you won't do?
Um Again, favorite move to do. I use a pump kick as a finisher most of the time, or a tombstone. So I would say the pump kick. I like using it because it's safe. If there's something that I'm not gonna take, again, if it doesn't make sense, I'm not taking it anyway. So if it makes sense, then I'll gladly take any move they want. But as much as it makes sense, if I hate, if there's something that I do hate, I hate power bombs. I'll straight up. They suck. Every bump sucks to me. A lot of people when I was young and bumping and I was saying, "Oh, this is fun." Bumps are not fun. They hurt. So
Yeah.
if again if it's needed, I would gladly give it. Like just I'll give somebody to give it to me, and if it's not necessary, then we're cutting it out.
Absolutely. So,
Can I
something
can I can I can
oh,
I stop you for a second?
oh, please.
With all those interviews that you said, what are some of the the bumps that hurt and the bumps that people like doing, giving stuff that people like?
Well, most of the people that I've spoken to have basically said they most of them seem to love their finisher.
Okay.
And as far as moves that they won't do, a lot of them, basically are saying, I'm no Ricochet. I'm not going to try a 630 or a
Yeah.
450 or anything like that. And one move that keeps coming up as something that they really don't want to do or be on the receiving end of is a vertebreaker.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't take it either. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Okay, cool
Yep.
to know. You see, always learn just to see what's out there that people don't like. Now I'm gonna start with every time I go meet somebody new, I'm like, hey man, do you mind taking a vertebrae? There you go. You just gave me a new sentence to rib the boys.
That'll work. So, something else that I've done in all of these is I have given the person that I'm interviewing a chance to pose a question for the next person in the hot seat.
Okay.
So earlier this evening, like I said, I had Sean Legacy,
Okay.
um, and he posed the question: who do you prefer as a comedian, Will Ferrell or Jack Black?
Ooh, that's actually a good one. I would say Will Ferrell. Jack Black, from some reason, I watch all his movies, but I just don't get that slang of funny. From some reason, it's weird. Again, it took me a while with the English to actually start listening to comedies and all that stuff. But Jeff Black, I can never. I don't know. I never laugh from his jokes. I
Mhm.
that's Who did he say? Did he have? Did he say one of them, or just
Um,
that? Did he answer it, or just that?
he actually, I didn't ask him to answer the question,
Okay.
but
Okay.
um, so do you have well, I can go ahead and tell you tomorrow I've got another double header.
Okay.
So tomorrow night at 7, I have a masked wrestler by the name of Smiley the Psycho Superman.
Smiley. I think he works Lucha. I think I know him. I don't know
Yeah,
about the Smiley Superman, but okay.
he does some lucha.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. I think I know him.
and then at 8:45 tomorrow, I've got a tag team called Ghetto Gear Solid. And
Yeah.
they have traveled around the states a good bit, so they're a pretty veteran tag team. So I'll have those guys both on tomorrow night. But do you have a question that you would like?
Absolutely, I have. So
Okay,
I don't know. I'm a very big ribber. I like
okay,
doing ribs on people. So can you ask them both actually that and just add
yeah,
another one from? I want you to ask them if they had one choice of subscribing to an OnlyFans, which one would it be? And then we'll put them on the spot. I'm gonna actually have to come and watch to see what they say.
okay. I will ask that.
That's gonna. There we go. Well, that will get them with a big they don't know what to say.
So, we're getting toward the end of this, but one additional question I want to ask
Okay.
is, and in this situation, you can only be one.
Okay.
Would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
Ooh. Um. I feel like I'm better in the ring than on the mic. I'm working a lot on the mic, but I would say if there's one thing that I can do is being good on the mic because nowadays if you're good on the mic, you don't even need to know how to do nothing in the ring, and it puts you on a top guy status because not too many can really talk these days. Most of the guys are phenomenal workers, but as I was saying, from my opinion of wrestling, you can be the greatest wrestler in the world. Bret Hart, everybody puts him as the greatest wrestler in the world. I love Bret Hart. I'm not saying no, but sometimes when you watch it, it does get a little bit boring, and it's also like I'm not saying Bret Hart's boring. Don't get me wrong. To all the people that are gonna get me heat there, but yeah, wrestling could be such a good match, but it needs that thing to buy me the match, to get me to watch the match. If I don't have that action before to get into a match, I don't even want to watch it sometimes. That's why some Roman Cody with the story, they had amazing
Hmm.
promos. Even Cody versus Goldust when they had at AEW with the promo at the end. I put Cody now as one of the best talkers there is right now. Roman Reigns talking the talking is what sells me to even turn on the pay-per-view. Like I forgot that there's even a pay-per-view tomorrow. Somebody told me there's SummerSlam tomorrow
Yeah.
because I was busy with work and the kid. I didn't even get to see it. But when I open up YouTube, I'm subscribed to AW, WWE, MLW. I'm subscribed to that, and sometimes you'll see a good promo come up there. And the ones that are when they go for like 8-9 minutes and they're ballpark out of amazing, that
Hmm.
that's what reminds me. Oh, there's SummerSlam. I gotta go watch it tomorrow. Like something like that.
Yeah.
So talker,
Yeah.
100% down.
Yeah.
Do
You
you get
know,
more talkers than wrestlers? Because I feel like nowadays people want to be better in the ring than thinking of mic skills to make more money.
it's when I've asked that question, it's actually been about 50%.
Really, 50-50.
About half of the people would rather be a good in-ring worker, and about the other half would be, they would rather be a good talker. But
I feel like. Go
um,
ahead.
I agree with what you were saying, though. The rare person who is phenomenal in the ring and great on the mic, they can basically write their own paycheck. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Absolutely.
and
Triple H, Shawn
yeah,
Michaels. They had that entertain. Don't get me wrong, Bret Hart had a lot of good promos, good too, but they were less entertaining because he was trying to be a more shooter style. That's the style that he wanted. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, for sure, the talking, when Edge got the mic, that's when he started raising up. He was an awesome worker, but getting on that, I'm 100%. I think the people that really get wrestling and want to make money would say talker, because that's where the real money is. You can have amazing workers, but then sometimes they'll be on a 5 minute match, dark match, and you're not even gonna, people are not gonna pay for it sometimes.
Absolutely. So we're pretty much toward the end of this now. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you would like to hype?
Yes, I have a couple. I have a cage match August 11. I guess just put my Instagram because I'm very bad in remembering company's name. I have that. I have a CWO match coming up. I have like 6 or 7 shows in August, and we have actually the CNE. CNE in Canada is one of the big fairs that they do at the summer, with all the rides and all the biggest things. And wrestling's coming there. We're gonna be there for a whole month, a whole month of 3 shows a day. Jerry Lawler's
Oh,
going to be
wow.
there, but it's a cool thing. Jacques Rougeau, a good friend of mine, the Mountie's going to be there. Um, who else? I know I'm missing more names, but a couple more names are going to be there. That's a cool thing. It's a one ticket to the fair, and you do everything. So if you're in Canada, I'm pretty sure you know CNE. Go out to the CNE, and if you're in Toronto, just Tomer Shalom Brand on Instagram and come to the show, and I would gladly say hi to you or tell you to F off, one of the two.
Well, like I said, we're pretty much at the end of things. But Tomer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
This
you,
is
man.
this has just been phenomenal.
This is fun. This is fun for
Um,
me. Sometimes I
and
do them and I'm sitting there and I'm just like falling asleep and I'm saying, when is it going to end? This I see an hour and 11 minutes and I didn't even feel it. So props to you. You're doing a good job. This felt fun.
well, thank you, thank you. And for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be watching this as a replay, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, please spread the word. This thing is really starting to take on a life of its own, and I'm just excited to watch it grow. And I feel like I'm just kind of along for the ride almost at this point. I don't know where this is going, but it's going someplace cool.
I'll tell you where
And
it's going. You're going to be the next Chris Von Vliet. And when you get to that status, don't forget me. Bring me back in and put me over.
absolutely, and Tomer, consider yourself as having a standing invitation to come back. Uh,
Absolutely. It'd be great.
because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're part of the Throwdown family now. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
um, anyway, everybody have a wonderful night, and I'll be back tomorrow night at 7 with Smiley the Psycho Superman, and at 8:45 tomorrow night with